Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Madals and this is game number 3 of a best of 3. And game 1 and 2 have been sensational! Legit, they've been absolutely incredible games. They are mind-blowingly good. I've loved them, I hope you've loved them, and game number 3 has got a lot to live up to, and I'm sure it's going to deliver. But yes, up in the top left position of Acheron Wastes, we have got the red Zerg player. It is Lucky. And his opponent down in the bottom right, the blue Terran, it's Apocalypse. Being game 3 of a best of 3, I'm sure the smart ones among you will realise that it's tied 1-1. Game 1 going to Apocalypse, game number 2 going to Lucky. And Lucky in game number 2 somehow managed to beat Hellbat Thor with Banelings. Yeah, my brain struggled with that one as well a little bit, but he did it! And actually the Banelings were super effective against the Widow Mines later. Yeah, everything about what I just said there doesn't really make sense to my brain. It's just like, that seems like a terrible thing. Like, Hellbat, Widow Mine, Thor should be awfully good against Banelings. How did that work? And well, I just put it down to Lucky being pretty damn awesome. Now, we are going to see no command center first this game from Apocalypse, because remember he did in game number 2 and it didn't work out too well for him, because this nasty little Zerg up in the top left went for a lot of speedlings. He denied it, he pushed up, and basically delayed a lot of the income that could have come from that quick gas. So this game, Apocalypse is going to be going for those Reapers again. And who can blame him? Because game number 1, he went for this Reaper expand opening, and it worked. Everything looked good. He followed it up with those Hellions and Banshees, and everything was fine and fluffy and nice, and rainbows and unicorns and all those sort of good things. But game number 2, he didn't do that, and he lost. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd be saying that I'd be like, well, one thing worked for me, the other thing didn't. I think I'm going to go with the one that worked again, rather than trying to mix it up. So, smart move here. It will be interesting to see whether or not Apocalypse gets those 2 Reapers down, or just the 1. Now, sitting up here for Lucky, he's going for a different build to game number 1 and 2. Gone hatch pull, not hatch gas pull. Minor difference just means that, obviously, speed's going to be a bit further delayed. So, nothing too scary there. Overlord paths, they're checking for proxies. That is their aim. They're making sure no 11-11-2 racks could be coming down, and that was because a drone scout came across as well. So everything is known, even the gas timing. So Lucky is aware. Reapers are on the way. A second Reaper is also coming out here too. So this is good news now for Apocalypse, going for a very similar build to game number 1. The gas has been taken here by Lucky. He doesn't need to rush out his third, just due to the fact that the Reaper expand means the natural's down a little bit later. But this is where all of the action is going to be coming. The command center has started, by the way, but Reaper is on its way in. Currently no queens down, but there are 6 Zerglings on the way. This queen, these Zerglings are earlier than they were in game number 1, because it was a hatch pull gas rather than hatch gas pull. So only a minor difference, but always something to keep a good little note of. This Reaper is certainly thinking he's the little Reaper who could trying to kill a hatchery, and yeah, he's going to be up against these Zerglings. Going to have to try and kite them a bit. The second Reaper on its way, no third once again, instead the reactor and factory. So almost certain to be that same follow-up that we saw in game number 1 of 2 Reapers into those Hellions at least. Whether or not we see the Banshee, time will tell, but at least at the moment it's on the cards. It's still a possibility, and that's something that, of course, Lucky will be aware of, that it's a possibility, and may influence him getting out some more queens. But the Reapers are going to be just dancing around. Queens really just trying to put an end to them, getting these little shots off whenever they can. But with combat drugs, unless you kill a Reaper, it is not dead yet. So this obviously means that they can keep coming in, they can keep scouting, keep harassing, being a pain. Third CC is on its way down here from Apocalypse, so very similar build to game number 1 with that quick third CC. Gonna get good income coming down from that. Gonna be able to start pumping everything out. Actually, no, it's not the same as game number 1, is it? He didn't get that in game number 1, so very economical opening here from Apocalypse. Lucky does now need to secure that third relatively quickly, sort of in the next minute or so, I'd like to see, or basically before the 7-minute mark. It'd be good to get that down, unless of course he's going to be going for some aggression. But now he's held off these Reapers, I wouldn't be surprised to see the hatchery getting taken fairly soon. There's the starport once again, and yeah, as it stands, Hellions coming out. Starport, is it going to be a tech lab? Yes, it will. So very similar to game number 1. These kind of a good number of Hellions, 2 Reapers, and a couple of Banshee thrown into the mix in order to harass. But there's the third coming down right on cue for Lucky. Everything that we're wanting there, and yeah, this is looking very reminiscent of game number 1. So that's not a bad thing at all. The Overlord is coming in though. Does it see the... Oh, saw the Hellions. Good scout there. And is actually on path to see both the third CC And also that starport. And oh, he didn't see the tech lab. He didn't see the tech lab. That's pretty big. Like, really big not seeing that tech lab. Trying to get the Overlord out instead, but now doesn't know whether it's just going to be drops or whether it'll be Banshee. He can guess that it'll be Banshee just because that's what it was in game number 1. But he doesn't know. And without that confirmation, it could be a bit of a problem. There is enough money for Cloak, but yeah, that's not getting researched here. So that's all fine news. Currently the Hellions just poking and prodding around. No more getting chucked out at the moment. Just these 6 of them. So yeah. Oh no, here we go. They are continuing, so that's all good. It's very similar build to game number 1. The Spine Crawler coming out. We've got the double Evo Chamber, a good number of Zerglings, and the Queen count also slowly trickling up higher. Up to 5 Queens already, a 6th one on the way. Doesn't want those Banshee doing anything too nasty. They're going to also be able to force back those Hellions. One getting picked off, that's always good. And here, Cloak is now getting researched this game. Different to game number 1. This is the first big variation we've seen from Apocalypse compared to game 1. And it's going to potentially allow those Banshees to do a lot more damage, especially if the lair isn't started soon, or if there isn't more Spore Crawlers thrown down, because currently the natural and third both have no detection at them. That could be a problem. Could be a problem, not definitely a problem, because it just depends when the lair comes out and whether there's an Overseer or anything like that. But Cloak is on its way. Banshees are trickling out onto the field. The first one already on its way, heading towards the third. These Hellions trying to prevent the creep spread from moving too far forward. There's the lair, but clearly not going to be done in time to stop this cloaking field, dealing potentially a huge amount of damage, so more Spore Crawlers will be forced. They are essential right now. Additional gas is being taken, Baneling Nest being taken, Ling Bling Muta probably on the cards with 1-1 coming down as well here, which is the right thing to do. Lucky knows that this is probably going to get followed up by Marine Mine, just as it was in the first game. A couple of drones are getting taken out here. This Banshee already dealing some nice economic damage. Cloak is quite a long way from completion. You do not want to lose this Banshee until Cloak is done, but pushing in now as opposed to waiting for Cloak, that's quite useful. And the reason that's quite useful is because frankly it is unbeknown that Cloak is even done yet, but a Spore Crawler is nonetheless being made at that natural base, making sure that the Banshee can't come up. So it's only really the third that's in a little bit of difficulties now, and perhaps Lucky will be overconfident, or not even overconfident, but just a bit brave, thinking he can defend with Queens. But no, there we go. Good little choice there, getting down that Spore Crawler. Suddenly the detection's there, and the investment in Cloak may not be worth it. The Banshee also coming back to get repaired up, so that's a smart move there, making sure that you keep the units alive, dealing as much damage as they can. But the Spore Crawler is nonetheless going to be a concern to Apocalypse when he does move in there. Double Armory coming down, so this isn't actually going to be the Biomine follow-up. It's going to be a mech follow-up to this. Very cool. Not being scouted as of yet, but, and of course, game number 1. This isn't necessarily going into mech as far as Lucky's concerned, because game 1 it was pretty much identical to this, so that's obviously very important. Creep Tube is getting taken down. The Spore Crawler is granting the detection though, so those Banshee can't really do too much even with Cloak. There's also the Overseer morphing as well, just ready to deal with that, but all Zerglings coming in. They force the third to lift up. Not too much damage getting done there. Lucky killing 4 workers this game, a Widowmine getting a good hit, and with the bunker, with this many Hellions, it's not going to be able to achieve that much more. So, stock check. Where are we in terms of this game? 66 to 55 workers in Lucky's favour, but 3 mules. Yeah, income's probably still slightly favouring Lucky, but it won't be once this starts really getting up and running at the third. Spire coming down, so no Mutalisks yet to stop the drops, and the fourth only just now getting started for Lucky. Interesting taking this fourth as opposed to this one. There's pros and cons to both, but generally, a lot of Zergs tend to take this. If you keep this base though for later, it is a nice quick expansion you can take in the late game. And the Banshee's even actually come and check up there to see if that fourth has been taken, now that he knows that Lucky scouted out his third. But gonna not see that there. May come and check up to this left-hand position, or alternatively just gonna come straight up into the main. 3 Banshee can focus down one of these Spore Crawlers, but 2 plus the Queen could be a bit difficult. There's also the Overseer there, so with all these extra Queens coming up, definitely not going to be able to do much damage. The Banshee are trying to chase some of this down, may try and get a couple of Banelings if possible, but these Queens all nearly have full energy, so many transfuses there. Hellion does confirm the 4th base getting taken to the side, big step, and the Rotron also now coming down for Lucky, because he's scouted all of these additional factories. He knows what's coming, he knows it's mech, and knows he's going to need that Roach Worm probably. Also got the infestation bit, and swarm hosts are going to be on the cards, so this is pretty cool. It's a very similar strategy that Lucky used in game number 2 against mech, so I'll be interested to see whether it works. This fourth though is in a bit of trouble. Banelings rolling forward. If they get connects on the Hellions, it will be good. Being allowed to finish because Lucky knows he needs to keep this up. The Banelings just rolling through the Hellions. not being microed, just thinking they were safe there. Big hits going down. The Zerglings alone can deal with this, but the Banelings, they want a bit of fun. Do pick it off. Queen's desperately trying to get up. Creep spread needs to join up the 4th base to the rest of the swarm, just to make sure these Queens, which are the predominant defense against the Banshee at the moment, can do something. But 8 Mutalisks, they're on their way down. So yeah, Mutalisks, that just means drops. The Banshee, they're pretty shut down hard. But yeah, as it stands, and I know I've said as it stands quite a few times, Lucky and Apocalypse fairly equal this game. Apocalypse is ahead in supply though, which is a little bit concerning. However, Lucky committing a lot of its resources into getting down these swarm hosts, which generate free units, and against mech, which isn't investing in tanks, those swarm hosts are going to be very effective. Widow mines, there's only a few of them on the field as well. There's a couple of tanks here, but of course the Thor production is really coming out after seeing those Mutalisks. So 3 tanks alone don't deal with Locust quite as nicely as Apocalypse wanted to. And I don't think Apocalypse, he has seen the infestation pit, but now he has actually started up the tank production again, so maybe he did catch wind that swarm hosts are on their way. Needs those tanks out, but the Mutas, they're going to just be very vigilant in trying to stop anything coming through. Only the Thors are the threat. Once the Thors are taken out, these Mutas can do whatever they want to, and what they want to do is kill tanks and Hellbats. So yeah, Scan goes down, sees what kind of armies there, the 4th base being evacuated. Lucky just flat out thinking, I can't actually stop this force at the moment that's moving up. Double command center coming down here. So Apocalypse nearly maxed out, getting very close there. 2-2 upgrades on the way too. 2-2 melee is done for Lucky. But that missile attack upgrade that's getting research, that's still at 0. That means, of course, the swarm hosts aren't going to be too strong. The Locusts can tank a lot of damage, but aren't going to be dealing huge amounts. And that's something that Lucky obviously wants to fix as quickly as possible, because the swarm host commitment is pretty large, going up to 14 now, and that's actually quite a big step. We've also got a lot more tanks though coming out here for Apocalypse. He knows what's coming. His mech force is going to be maxed, and that's when he's going to start pushing out. He's also getting the 3 starports ready for those Ravens late game. Them Seeker missiles are going to be very strong, and this is now where things get interesting. In game number 1, neither player ever maxed, I don't think. So this is now a much different situation, but specifically for Lucky, he's going to struggle to stop this mech force. Maxed out mech, very scary. With 2-2 upgrades maxed out mech, exceptionally scary. The Spire, Greater Spire on its way, I think is such a good move. Broodlords against this force are stupidly good. Yes, Thors do now have that high impact payload, which helps them deal with single target air units. But Thors alone, especially only 4 of them, that won't be enough. It just flat out won't. These Locusts are going to try and force back this Terran army. This 4th base needs to be kept ideally by Lucky, but I don't think he's going to be able to. The Locusts are getting taken out. Yes, a couple of Hellbats die, but they're basically free at this point for Apocalypse, who's sitting with, well, these additional command centers. He's on 4 bases, all pretty nice. At the same time, Hellbat dropped up at the 5th base that was there for Lucky. The 4th has died at the bottom left position. The 8 o'clock position base down. This top base though, the 11 o'clock base, that's still going, and of course, if that does get knocked out, it'll be pretty tough. Ravens though are on their way in, Corruptors, and of course soon Broodlords are going to be coming down on the field for Lucky. This game, pretty intense. It's going to be all about positioning. Can the Broodlords get into this army? Can the Broodlords deal the damage they need to? Small little reposition from Lucky's army, bringing the Swarm Host, Roach, and Baneling force round the top. Maybe going to try and cut off the retreat of Apocalypse. It's potentially a possibility. But of course, these Hellbats, they are coming in. They're going to try and kill a couple more drones. Do you get one shot off? A couple more are going to be coming out. They are blue flame though, so that means they take quite a few hits in order to kill those drones. Locusts are going to try and get a couple of kills here. If they get a kill on a Thor, that would be pretty imber, because of course keeping the Thor count low is essential when you are getting out those Broodlords. Ultras are also going to be on the cards. This is Lucky maxing out now. He needs to actually free up supply, and the supply he's going to free up are these 16 Roaches. Unfortunately, they need to sacrifice themselves for the cause to start getting those Broodlords. The Greater Spire, of course, is done, so it needs to be coming out fairly soon. The Ravens granting detection as well of these Swarm Hosts. The Seeker missiles alone aren't their only saving grace. Plus the PDDs, that could be pretty helpful. Gotta just keep a good eye out for, though, when Lucky starts pumping out those Broodlords. He's maxed out. He needs to free up supply. He needs these Roaches to die. He needs to send them in somewhere, perhaps down to this 4th base, for example, trying to pick that off. But there's just so many tanks everywhere, it's going to be difficult to do. Frankly, if they don't get taken out, it is going to be fairly tough. But the Locusts now pushing in, but they said good number of tanks. That is not going to be able to do too much. 3-3 vehicle weapons and armor are coming down here for Apocalypse. Meanwhile, +3 melee is on its way, +2 missile, and +3 carapace miles behind that. Chitinous plating is coming down though, so those ultras should be able to be quite helpful. The Ravens still granting the vision, the swarm hosts, at least for the moment, preventing the advance forward. Roaches and banelings from the side. But Apocalypse, he's now going forward, and these swarm hosts, yes, they have reburrowed, but the scans coming down, seeing that, allowing the tanks to siege up in time to deal with the locusts as they come trickling through. Good hits from these tanks, cleaning up most of it. One tank at the front may potentially fall, but the Hellbats have something to say about that. This command center is going to get taken out by the Mutalisks, which is still being very active on the map. 2 Broodlords are morphing in, but that's the first 2 Broodlords. That's not enough to deal with this, especially when the Raven count is sitting up at 6. A bit of a problem there for Lucky at the moment. That command center to the right is going to go down though. That's a bit of a win. Now the 4th. This is, or what was the 5th, this top base here for Lucky is heavily defended by spine crawlers, but the tanks won't take any damage from that once they're sieged up. Of course, these roaches and banelings still down, but not really achieving anything at all. The locusts going to start trying to push forward as best they can. The swarm host count sitting a bit nicer, up at 14, but still, only 2 broodlords, about to be 6. They're essential. The reason they're essential is because it forces the unsiege of the tanks. That allows the locusts to suddenly be a lot more effective. Broodlord, swarm host, very good, unless of course your opponent is committed heavily just air units, and then of course you don't really have anything that can shoot up. These roaches, these banelings trying to deal some good damage here. Have they managed to get many SCV kills? The answer is no, they haven't. Only 8 gone down so far. And of course the 5th base of Lucky is getting taken down. At the same time, Mutalisks trying to pick off a couple of these tanks. The Broodlords are here. Mass Seeker missiles going down. Big detonations there from the Ravens, and suddenly the Broodlord count is at 5 with those additional ones popping out. Takes us to 7. Transfuse is trying to go down, but Lucky ahead in supply. With these Broodlords, he may have enough. He's also doing good counter aggression, trying to pick off more of these SCVs. We can see now 19 workers have been killed and a big group of SCVs sitting there. There's also down this base nothing to defend apart from that planetary fortress, and unfortunately the banelings are rolling straight past. That means SCV is going to get taken down. Apocalypse forced to retreat back because the Broodlords are just too damn strong. Bottom left-hand base, 8 o'clock position is back up, but no drones added for the time being. Lucky trying to put on a bit of pressure, and this is where suddenly we see Apocalypse needing to make sure that he needs to basically just make sure he doesn't die. And that's going to be pretty tough because Ultras are coming out too. So even if Apocalypse starts committing heavily to Vikings and Battle Cruisers, which will do good against the army sitting here at the moment, the Ultralists is just going to come in and be like, well, guess what? We can kill everything you have before you can kill us. A couple of Seeker missiles are queued up. Are they going to get some hits? Yes, they will. The Broodlord's taking a bit of fire, but not going down quite yet. The Queens are shuffling their way forward, going to try and get some good transfuses. The Thors are still trying to focus. Unfortunately, they're in non-high impact payload mode. They're just sitting there using Javelin missile launcher, and that simply means that they're not able to take them out that quickly. But the Vikings, they certainly are. No Infestor supporting this army, so the Broodlords all now dying. Apocalypse coming back into this game. He is remaxed out. He's got those 3-3 upgrades, remember, up against 3-2-2 done. Soon to be 3-3 with 2 missile attack for Lucky. But Lucky does have these Ultras. A big commitment to Sky from Apocalypse. He's actually got down the 2 Battle Cruisers and also 5 Vikings, those 4 Ravens. Still producing the Vikings as well. That means that when the Ultras come marching in, the DPS is going to be limited against them. The Thors and tanks though are still out in a sizable count, and that's the concern for Lucky. He needs to find a way to deal with that. Apocalypse is starting to move forward. He's going to try and get himself into a bit of a better position. More Ultras coming out. These are on the wrong side of the map though. They're going to walk straight into the side of this army, revealing that 1, the Ultras are there, and 2, losing 2 Ultralisks. And 2 Ultralisks are not cheap, nor are they too quick. It also reveals this base, which Apocalypse could just go and kill if he wants to. And Apocalypse, meanwhile, has just got bases everywhere. He's up to a stupid number of command centers and planetary fortresses, 10 orbital commands, and of course 2 planetary fortresses. So he's got a lot of mules. His SCV count can start to fall, freeing up more supply in order to get down more mech. But Ultras are pushing in for the counterattack at the moment. Apocalypse is not going to be able to get back in time. Only a couple of Widow Mines here actually to defend for the moment, and frankly, Widow Mines are not good against Ultras. However, what has Lucky got to defend with? The answer, a handful of Swarm Hosts. That is not going to be enough. This could end up being a bit of a base trade situation. We see now, of course, that Apocalypse pushing in. He's going to start destroying the Great Aspire. The Ultras Cavern behind that as well. No more Broodlords. But in the main base of Apocalypse, he's got some Ultras, 2 of which getting confused, 2 busy destroying a starport. But look at this mech force. The tank's in such a nice position. No Broodlords on the field either. It's literally 8 Swarm Hosts, 11 Ultras, and those 7 Corruptors that cannot engage this force right now. And so Lucky just trying to do as much damage as he can in terms of counterattack. He's losing a lot though, and in a flat-out base trade, this is a sizable army. Yes, it's very immobile, but it deals a huge amount of damage. The Greatest Spire going down. The Infestation Pit is also probably going to get taken down. Apocalypse, though, he's not got his attention down with his force. If he repairs up that Planetary Fortress, it would be very nice, but he's not going to. The SCV's still just sitting there mining. All of his production facilities pretty much annihilated. But Apocalypse, he's busy. He's knocked out that Infestation Pit. He's knocking out the Ultralisk Cavern, taking out the Natural. But Lucky still has income. It's just he can't really make anything too useful. He's got another Spire in production at the bottom of the 4th. But SCVs, they're getting pulled. This is full base trade at the moment. Who is going to win it? I just don't know for the time being. But the Ultras still trying to do some good damage here. We can see the production for Apocalypse is frankly at 0, I think, now. That's the final factory in terms of things that can make anything. No, there are 2 more. They're getting taken out of the Natural, though, anyway. So, yeah, this is now the armies that are standing. And while the supply is in Lucky's favour, a lot of that is in the worker supply. That's a problem as well for Lucky, because that means the mech force in terms of actual army supply, very similar. It's also 3-3 mech, and there's only Ultras down for the time being to try and push into this. It is going to be some very close engagements. This is a perfect ending to game number 3 of such a closely contested series. And who's going to win it, I still don't know. I think currently Apocalypse has a slight edge, but with these Vipers coming out, that means the Blinding Clouds can go on the tanks, suddenly allowing these Ultras to close up the distance. And that's going to help. The Locusts are quite a critical piece of this puzzle though, because as they whittle down this army, it cannot be replaced. That's the key thing. The Ultras trying to kill literally everything. Still trying to base trade, but of course with these orbital commands lifted, they can never win that way. But this bottom left-hand base is about to get taken out. That means Lucky will only have the main remaining, which is a hive. A couple more Corruptors also on their way, because that's the concern as well, is that in terms of something to deal with those battlecruisers, or sorry, should I say battlecruiser, Viking, and Ravens, there is so far nothing. If the battlecruiser stays alive, it will, I assure you, eventually kill all these Ultralisks. Definitely will kill them before the Ultralisk can kill a flying orbital command. But the Corruptors, they're going to be trying to focus that down, because once the battlecruiser's dead, if the ground army dies, it's going to be pretty crazy. Worker count is 4 to 12. There's still 12 drones setting up in the main base. Quite important actually there for Lucky. He does still have a bit of money in the bank, so can produce more and more Corruptors. He needs to get a decent number out. He's up to 19 now. And there is at some point going to be an engagement. But the big thing is Lucky wants to spend as much time as possible trying to kite with the swarm hosts around and pick off anything of this army that he can, because anything he kills with Locusts is essentially free. These swarm hosts do have to be a little bit careful though. The siege not coming down quite yet, the Locusts coming in from the side, a good number of them as well. Any tanks that get taken out by these Locusts are going to be very, very good, but of course the tanks just getting whittled down in terms of their HP, and Lucky, he's not even trying to long distance mine for the moment. He's got a couple of extractors around. He's critically got this base up in the top position and his main, but this top base is probably going to get discovered fairly soon. We see that the mech army just wandering its way through. Mules are being called down once again for Apocalypse. He's got a huge bank, but just nothing to spend it with. He does have those 3 SCVs wherever they be, and they're just busy building supply depots, because frankly Apocalypse is hugely supply blocked. But even if he wasn't, he has no production facilities. Literally the only structures he's got are 3 orbital commands and now 4 supply depots. No way to make anything. His tech is literally 0. And as a result, this force from Lucky is looking fairly strong. Can he engage into this mech force though? A good number of Thors, a good number of tanks. The Ultra Corruptor army has got its work cut out. The Vipers, I personally think, could be the real key to the puzzle. Because if a good Blinding Cloud goes down, suddenly that'll look a lot nicer. This top base has been scouted and destroyed now. But as we see, Lucky is going for the base trade. He's going to try and pick off these bases as quickly as he can with a good number of Corruptors. Even floating buildings may not necessarily survive, but the Ultra's trying to move in. The top left base is still up. There's also these extractors around, spine crawlers around. And this is the important thing. A couple of drones may even opt to making a few additional extractors just scattered around the map, trying to buy a bit of time. This is full on base trade at the moment, and which way it'll go, it's starting to look in favour of Lucky as he's picking off these final few supply depots. There's also no SCVs, so no option to make anything else. The Ultras are going to move up here, and I just don't think this mech force from Apocalypse is going to be able to get back in time. He's calling down some mules just to try and repair up his army. It's a smart move, he needs everything to be as good as it can, but with still 1 orbital command there, the Corruptors, they didn't see it! This orbital command is so the hero of this game. If that goes down, it will be the end of Apocalypse, and Lucky will win this series 2-1. But as it stands, because he hasn't found it, he's looking around everywhere else, and that means this army's got a chance to try and engage. This could now go the other way. Seeker missiles are starting to be triggered on those swarm hosts. They are not going to get out the way in time. The swarm host getting very low, and the mech force slowly starting to push forward. Lucky's just sitting there thinking, where is all of this? The Overlord can't see it. Nothing can see it. No vision of this one lone orbital command. Of course, mules can start getting called down. Don't fly into range of... Oh, those Overlords could be such heroes. The main base is still up. But of course, Apocalypse sitting around, still wondering. This game absolutely bonkers. The Overlords, they've seen it. They know where it is. And that means Lucky, all he's got to go in is go and kill that. Can, though, and this is the big question, can this many Thors... And I say this many, 7 Thors, kill 19 Corruptors before the Corruptors can kill the Orbital Command? I don't know. It's that simple. I'm not sure. But now, Apocalypse is taking no chances. He's keeping his last remaining building floating with all of his forces. There has to be a head-on trade. The Locusts are going to try and do as much as they can, but of course, with PDDs down and things like that, they're limited into how successful they can be. Lucky has to be cost-effective. That is what this game comes down to now. Basically, neither player producing anything, and the winner will be whoever has a unit standing, quite frankly. And to be honest, I don't know which way that's going to go. If an engagement happens, I don't think they know which way it's going to go, because they're both sitting here. Lucky, his one and only goal at the moment is I need to make these swarm hosts kill as much stuff as I can, because I'm still producing new units. Anything my locusts kill are free for me. Makes the chance of a big final trade more likely to go in my favour. The swarm host is just going to keep pushing out more and more locusts, keep trying to go through the orbital command. I need to be careful. If it gets too far away from this army, guess what? That's when we start seeing Corruptors come in and go for the ninja move. The tank's sieged up. The Vipers, Blinding Cloud, could be essential. They're moving forward. Are they going to go for some abducts? They are. They've ducked a couple of Ravens, but the Vipers do get taken down in the process. One of them very low. A couple of Seeker missiles trying to connect with the army. Good hit goes down there. Big damage being done. Still, the army supply sitting at 141 to 85. Still not sure which way this is going to go. Those abducts, I'm not sure how good they were, because it actually resulted in a lot of damage being done with the Corruptors. And of course, they're ended, and the Vipers getting taken out too. One Viper remains, but it is low on energy. Doesn't have enough for a Blinding Cloud, and Blinding Cloud is what I personally feel could be the essential piece to this puzzle. And that's because the tanks can be negated. Locust still trying to come in, still trying to do a little bit more damage, but the main base of Lucky is potentially going to get taken out. He's trying to make a few more lings just to aid even further. He does have an extractor down here, a spine crawler, chilling as well, but the orbital command is still up here for Apocalypse. If Apocalypse moves up there, it's a bit of a dangerous place to go. He's keeping the tanks on the low ground, just making sure that he's able to cover himself, but I don't know, Kev. I don't know which way this is going to go. It's pretty intense. And yeah, this is pretty crazy. Someone is going to win. They have to win soon. But this extractor and this extractor mean that Apocalypse doesn't win by killing all this stuff. So that buys Lucky time, because he's now, in a strange sort of way, contained Apocalypse. Because he's got the locusts here, and if Apocalypse tries to come down this ramp, he'll die. However, Apocalypse could try and come out the back here, which may not get discovered. The Corruptors are still wandering their way through. A Blinding Cloud right now here would allow these Swarm Host Locusts to deal some good damage. Tank getting a little bit low. Gotta be careful there. Where are the Vipers? Where are they? Okay, they're wandering through. Drones just going to come and make a couple more extractors. Potentially a hatchery as well. There is enough money for Lucky to make a hatchery. I can't believe I'm even considering this. There is a hatchery also coming down at the top here. This game is just ridiculously crazy. Locust still coming in. Apocalypse now realizing his predicament, that actually I'm stuck here. The Swarm Hosts are burrowed though, and of course they aren't putting out any Locusts. This could be the engagement. It is going to be the engagement. In now come the Corruptors. They're just going to try and focus down the orbital command. Can they do it in time? The Blinding Cloud is brilliant. That's stopping it being taken out, and I think Lucky is going to be able to do it. He's winning the army on the ground, and he's going to take it out. There we go. Apocalypse was defeated. Lucky takes the game, winning the series 2-1. My goodness. Game 1 and 2 were fantastic. Game 3 was the perfect ending with that base race to what was honestly a ridiculously close set of games. I hope you all enjoyed those as much as I did. If you did, make sure you like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe, because I get new games up every day of the week. So, I'll see you all tomorrow. I'm Madals. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.